Hi, I'm Chris, and this is the Midlife Crisis Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well out there, and obviously in this trying time, a lot of you are at home, maybe working from home, maybe laid off from your jobs. I hope that you're still doing well and doing well financially. Fortunately, over the last little bit here, President Trump's been able to get some bipartisan bills passed with being able to stay home with your kids and the 14 days of paid leave time enacted into law. So this is positive, but hopefully it's not impacting everyone out there too much. Hopefully here over the next couple of weeks he'll be able to get some things enacted with stimulus checks. I'm still kind of mixed on how I feel about the stimulus checks. It's like, robbing from Peter to pay Paul. Eventually we're going to have to pay that money back, but I think short term that the economy could really benefit from it, and more than the economy, the lower and middle class, and that's what keeps our country going. So obviously we need to take care of them, and I think that President Trump is kind of heading in the right direction, and I'm glad that the Democrats are participating and trying to work this out in a bipartisan manner. So anyway, moving on, just talk about some of the impacts that are happening lately. Stock market's low. I had a bit of a rally last week on some of the news that's coming out. Obviously, oil prices are still pretty low, lower than we've seen since 2008. So a lot of people that are being affected by this. The other side of it is the lower gas prices. So I guess all in all, as a country, it's a net benefit for us. Especially while everything else is down and people are losing their jobs. Well, the lower gas prices will help out a little bit with, not only everyday costs, but transportation costs, getting that food back to the stores and trying to get those shelves stocked back up. So, also, that's another thing that's being impacted is our ability to go out and just buy stuff. This is a real eye opener for a lot of people where, we go to a grocery store and all the shelves are empty. I mean, I've never seen this in my lifetime. I don't remember seeing this with any of the other things like SARS and MERS and things like that. I don't remember seeing it to this extent. So I guess in some ways I'm looking at it as this is a really good practice in what if, this is kind of, I really don't think this is going to be, something that has long-term effects, but I'm hoping that it might have long-term effects in how we approach these things. Being a little bit more prepared, I'm hoping that people are going to look at their savings account and think, we need to be a little bit more prepared for this in the future. Also, just preparing for the future, making sure that you have enough food in the house, that you have enough, of leeway with your finances, with your rent, with your mortgage payments, with your car payments. We've talked in the past about having a car payment that's way too big or having a house payment that's way too big. This might be a real eye-opener to people to, get their finances back to a manageable point, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I hate to see it happen this way, but in the end, maybe it's going to be the best thing for a lot of people. All right, so moving on. What am I doing during this period? Well, I had a little bit of money in savings, so I've actually transferred that to Robinhood. A lot of you guys have heard of Robinhood. There's other apps out there like that as well that you can use for trading and stuff. With the stocks being low, I thought that I'd take advantage of a little bit and try and build up my savings account a little bit, just trading a few stocks here and there. I'm not going crazy. I didn't put a whole lot of money in there, but enough that, that I'm kind of making up for the slowdown at work. For some of the lost wages we had, as I said in the last episode, that our wages went down about 30%. I right now feel pretty fortunate just to have a job. So I guess, I'm not going to complain about it too much. But with day trading, I'm doing, 2, 3, 4 trades in a week. Not necessarily day trading, but buying a stock, holding it until I feel comfortable selling it, and then making a little bit extra money here and there. Something that, I don't know, if you want to mention it down in the comments, I can, maybe share my screen on my Robinhood account and kind of show you guys what I do and how I pick my stocks and how I decide when I'm going to get out. And, I'm not a big time trader, but, I've got enough education that I understand what the charts mean and how to kind of, look for signals, for buy and sell signals, things like that. But if that's something you're interested in, mention it down in the comments and I'll share my screen one of these times and show you what I'm doing. The other thing I guess I can share is my personal experience. Today is the second day of a short-term quarantine. I was feeling a couple things. I work in kind of a dusty environment, so it's probably not. It was probably nothing to start with, but I was feeling a few symptoms: shortness of breath, a little bit of a runny nose, a little bit of a cough. So, I mentioned it to my supervisor, and of course, right now everyone's on high alert. So, they advised me that I was going to be quarantined until I could, consult a doctor. So that was a 2 day process. Went and saw a doctor online. Took a while to get an appointment, obviously, because everyone out there right now is going through the same thing I was. So I was able to get to see a doctor online first thing this morning, but not before work started. So I'll be returning to work tomorrow. But for me, it's a 2 day vacation from work. Obviously, they're going to top me up a little bit with a new law that was passed. But since I almost had 30 hours in this week, it's going to be for 2 days. I might make about 10 hours, so it's going to impact me financially. And I'm just going to have to sit down and look at that and see where I can cut and make things work and go from there. Kind of an unfortunate situation, but it's one that probably a lot more people out there are dealing with, and a lot worse than I had it. So I count myself pretty fortunate. So getting into the regular part of the show, today I wanted to talk maybe little bit about investing. A lot of people out there are like me in their mid 40s to early 50s, and they've all of a sudden realized that they don't have the money in retirement they need. So a lot of people try to play catch up, but if you know how compound interest works, that the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be. So there's a rule out there. It's called the rule of 72. Okay. You take the number 72, you divide your interest rate into that, and that's how long it's going to take for you to double your money. So, if you are 30 years old and you're going to plan on retiring at 65 years old, your money is going to double. What is that? 5.5 times almost, depending on your interest rate. I mean, if you can invest at a rate of 12% and average that from here to retirement, your money's going to double 6 times, let's say. So, $10,000, if you put that in there today and left it in there and doubled it 6 times, by the time you retire, it's going to go 20, 40, 80, 160, 320, 640. So that's the power of compound interest. Now that assumes that you never put any more money into that. That's just starting with $10,000, letting it grow at 12%. You want to take that money and you want to do it at 6%. Well, obviously it's going to double you divide 6% into 72. That's going to be every 12 years. That money is going to double. So, it's going to cut down to 3 times that you're going to double in the next 35 years, 36 years actually. But I'm just rounding numbers. So instead of having $640,000 in there, you're only going to have 20, 40, $80,000. So you can see what having it invested at a higher rate is going to do for your money in the long term. And that's just assuming you're not putting more money into that. We'll kind of get into those, at a later date. We can actually talk about what happens as you contribute, constantly into your 401k. But anyway, so I wouldn't, at this point in life now, I have to try and find myself a new strategy. I have to find something else, to try and make my money work better for me. So when I'm doing things like I have, my Robinhood account, doing some short-term investing, trying to build up my savings account, and eventually transfer that savings into a mutual fund, maybe a aggressive growth mutual fund or a moderate growth mutual fund, to continue to grow that and double it over time. I have actually another investment account as well that I actually buy stock and I leave it alone in. That one is with post-tax money. A lot of you, if you don't know, so you got different ways you can invest. Okay, so you got your 401k. A lot of people have that through their employer. That money there is going to be pre-tax money. The advantage to that is it reduces your overall income, your taxable income that the IRS sees. So you have that advantage of not paying it on the tax now, or on your taxes now. Eventually, you'll have to pay that tax when you withdraw that money after retirement. There's also Roth IRAs, which are post-tax money that you invest that grows tax-free. So that advantage is when you're in retirement, that's your money. You don't have to worry about paying taxes on it. So that's the advantage to that. Now, outside of those two things, I mean, there are different kinds of investments you can make, but for me, what I've decided to do is just invest money in mutual funds. It keeps the money liquid. There's, obviously I pay taxes on what profits I make off of that. And hopefully eventually that'll be, like just an extra little bit of money that at retirement or before I'll just transfer into some kind of long-term growth fund, savings as well. I try and keep, at least a little bit of an emergency fund in savings. That way, when things happen, like this is a prime example right now with everything going on in the world. Right now, I have that money available to me. If I needed it, I could withdraw that and use it for my month-to-month bills. I'm hoping that this passes quickly enough that I won't have to do that, um, but that's the advantage to having that. It also has the advantage that I can take a little bit of it out and I could use it to do some investing into the stock market. I could use it to invest into, maybe advancing my business or some new YouTube equipment or something like that. Like it's definitely a good idea to have some kind of savings. The other thing I'm trying to do right now is keep my credit card debt down. A lot of the credit card companies through this have said that they are willing to forgive or give you a little bit more of a grace time to pay your bills. I haven't really looked that close into it, but I'm sure a lot of them are going to be lowering their interest rates or maybe giving grace periods on interest rates as well, to help people through this crisis. Not that it hasn't really affected me because I keep a pretty low balance most of the time. I usually only keep a balance on maybe one card. The rest of them I pay off every month. And that's just a practice I have because I'm not good with credit. I know that if I build those up, it's really hard to pay them off. It's hard to, once you get into that cycle of borrowing somebody else's money and treating it as your own, it's hard to pay that money back. So, and that's kind of their goal in the end is to keep, your balance high. So you always have to get those credit limit increases. So you're always paying them interest. So you'll never have that thing paid off. That's another subject that maybe we'll do on a future podcast is talking about credit card debt and things like that, credit card interest rates. So I was on another platform the other day. It's called TikTok. I'm sure everyone out there has heard about it. It's short videos. It's, 15 or 60-second videos, and sometimes I'll make series and stuff like that. I ran across a really interesting couple videos, and I won't mention the guy's name, but if you're interested, I'll leave a link down in the description to my TikTok, and you can kind of see my response to him. He was talking about financial stuff. From his name, I assume he's a younger guy, and he was talking about things like if you have cash, keeping that cash in, say, something like a certificate of deposit, earning interest on it, and using that cash as collateral for achieving loans for, say, a car. Maybe we'll expand that and talk about, buying a house or some kind of investments, etc. It's kind of, he had a really interesting concept. I actually replied to his video because his numbers weren't working and there's a lot of things that he didn't take into account. But two things that I took out of it. First of all, like he had a great idea. This is, having that liquid cash in the bank was a really good idea. Using that instead of putting that out there, using that for, to gain some advantage in your finances is an excellent idea as well. What I didn't agree with was how he put it out there as using this money to leverage credit to put yourself in more debt to get yourself ahead. I won't go into it too much, but I think, that the better thing to do at this time is to buy something cash. Put that money into a good mid-growth or aggressive growth mutual fund and grow your money. That way you don't have debt. You get into a situation like this and, if you had $30,000, instead of buying a $30,000 car on a loan and using it as collateral, buy a $10,000 car, put $20,000 into the bank and grow your money. Things like that. Those are the kind of things that we need to learn as a society to, actually get ahead in life. Some people out there might disagree with me, but there's also, the majority of us are living paycheck to paycheck. So, obviously if things aren't working, maybe it's time to, go try something different, do things a different way. They say the definition of insanity is to try the same thing over and over again and expect different results. So It's time, I think, for us as a society to start doing things differently and not giving all our money to the banks and not, trying to keep up with the Joneses by buying a bigger house or a better car. Be happy with what we have. That's the biggest thing right there is being happy with what we have. So, anyway, if you get a chance, TikTok is a great platform. There's a lot of good information over there. You can check out my TikTok, check out a lot of other TikToks. It's a good way, it's kind of a bad way to spend a bunch of time because you get sucked into it and waste a lot of time, but it's a good way if you're focused in what you're looking for. You can go over there and find a lot of really good information, a lot of really good entertainment. So that's gonna about do it for today. It's kind of having a lot of trouble keeping things flowing here, and I don't want to just continue keeping going and not saying a whole lot of productive stuff. So next week we'll try and have a little bit more substance to the podcast and try and give you guys a little bit more useful information. So anyway, that'll about do it for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and click the notification bell so you're notified when we upload new videos. All right, thanks. See you next time.